Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we're going to tackle the front forks in advance. Again, we're trying to get the bike ready for the Wyoming BDR, which is coming up at the beginning of September. On my last trip, my fork seals were leaking pretty bad. I didn't have my fork seal saver with me, and I even tried the water bottle trick. Didn't work. So I know I lost quite a bit of fluid out of my left leg. So we're going to go ahead today and replace the fork seals. And I figured, you know what, while we're in there, we'll do a little update. So we're going to go ahead and put in the Touratech progressive springs as well. So let's get into it. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is remove the calipers, and then we're going to remove the front wheel. So we're going to take a 12 mil socket and we're going to break these free. While I'm on this side, I'm going to go ahead and remove the fork guard. These are the same length they are, just so I know where they go back. So the fork guard is removed. We'll just get this out of the way here. I'm going to remove the speed sensor as well. Set that aside. Now maybe what I'll do is I'll just remove that bracket as well. I'll put that screw back in just so I don't lose it. And pay attention to how this route, so this goes around that post there. That'll make it easier to get the wheel off. Now I'll go around to the other side and do the same thing. That one was loose. Woo! This is another great product for you T7 owners. A lot of people complain about this being a vulnerable spot on the T7, and Camel ADV makes these fork guards, which helps protect the bottom of the fork guard. Set those aside. Okay, now it's going to take the caliper off. Grab the 10 mil again. Sorry, 12 mil, my bad. So in my previous video, I installed the Camel high fender kit. That went great. I've had it out on the highway, just testing out to see how it performs in the wind, and it's been really good. This fender's not that big. I think if you had the more full-size motocross type fender, you'd have a bit of an issue with it blowing in the wind, but it's pretty solid, no issues. Okay, so that's loose. Now I'm going to take my 10 mil and I'm going to loosen the pinch bolts for the axle. And then we'll take the 17 mil, I believe it is. Nope, 19 mil. And we'll loosen the axle. But before I do that, I'm just going to get the bike up onto the stand. Okay, I got the bike up on the stand now. Out goes the spacer. I'll just slide that axle out. Out goes the wheel. Okay, so now that the wheel's off and the fork guards are loose, I'm going to go now and I'm going to loosen the caps before sliding them out. It'll be a lot easier to do this while it's on the bike. So I'm just going to hold the bar and just loosen those off a little bit. I'll do both sides quickly. Okay, now I'll grab the 10 mil and we'll loosen off the top of the triple clamps here. Just going to hold the bar and give it a nice pull here. That's good. We don't need to take these right out. You need to loose them off. And we'll do the lower level. Bit of an awkward angle in here, but we'll get this turned out a little bit. One. This one, so there we go. Two. Before pulling the fork tubes down, I'm just going to take a measurement of where these are now so I can get them back to the same height. So we're at 11.5 mils. So I'll make a note of that. All right, so these should come out now. There we go. You can see some of the remnants of the oil that I couldn't clean off because the fork guard was in the way, but this one here was leaking pretty good. So that one's off, and I'll get off to the other side. Again, we got a little 10 mil action here. Just gonna pull this out forward a bit so I can get this in here. Just get those fingers loose. That's good. We'll see if we can get this guy to spin out. This one's a bit easier. A little bit easier. Get this out and around. There we go. Beauty. All right, so before we get started, I'm just gonna give these a quick wipe down. Okay. So some of the tools that you'll need, or it'll make it a lot easier, is this here. This is your seal driver. This is a 43 millimeter seal driver. I've got different sizes for different bikes. I had to order this one obviously for the T7, being that they're a smaller diameter. So I've got this Motion Pro seal driver, which is kind of slick. It opens up like this. You spin these blue aluminum inserts and it locks, but only when you're not on camera. There we go. You turn these and it locks. So that's a good thing to have. And then this here, this measurement tool obviously is a good thing to have as well. So with these shocks, once the oil is in, you need 85 millimeters of air gap. So we'll get to that after. And yeah, so what we're going to do now is just get this into the vise and drain them out. Again, we'll put the 19 mil on here. Hold this. Be curious to see how much oil we actually have in here. There we go. That drawer helped out. Out she comes. Okay, I'm going to let that drain out. You know, it's really quite amazing how clean the oil is when you think about what we put these forks through. Those seals really do their job. Just going to get out as much of this as possible before I go on to the next step. Okay, so while that's draining, I'm going to take 17 mil. Okay, I got that 17 mil in there. Now we're just going to loosen off this cap more. See if this will come off by hand. There we go. So just pay attention to how this all goes back together for when the time comes. So we've got this spring cap here, so we'll set that aside. And now we'll just slide out the spring. And this is a bit of a messy job, so it's good to have somewhere to put these. Got a little paint tray down here. Use that. Put those springs in there. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll undo this as well. And then we'll slide out the spring guide. Again, pay attention to the orientation. So long way down. Get it? Long way down. So set that aside as well. And now I'm just going to have a quick peek inside here and see how she looks. Oh, so nice. So now I'm just going to pump this a few times to get as much of the oil out as possible. And at the same time, we'll carefully pull out the internal rod here. We'll set that aside. And then we'll just give this a few pulls just to get, again, all that, as much of that oil as we can. It's amazing how much oil is actually in these things. It just keeps coming. So what I'm going to do now is just remove this outer dust seal. So I'm just going to use a screwdriver here just to get it pry into it a little bit here, just to get these things off. I need to get one that's a bit thinner, I think. There we go. So we'll slide this out. And then inside there is a capture spring inside here. So I'm going to get my pick and we'll just get this out here. So we'll just carefully pull this out. Okay. And we'll just get that out on both sides. This one up here. I'm going to be careful not to mar the fork tube. Okay, slide that down. Now, we're going to use a little bit of force, and we're going to just kind of give this some impact and try and just get this to pop off. So don't be afraid to give it a little bit of oomph. Now that that's off, so we 1, 2, 3. There we go. So that's out, and what I'm going to do now is do a little clean up in aisle 4 quickly, and I'm going to use some of the suspension clean just to clean out the inside of this tube. So at this stage, if I had a full complete rebuild kit, I'd probably go and do it. These forks have almost 20,000 kilometers on them, and I'm just looking and just starting to see a little bit of wear on the exterior of the ring here. You can see this gold color starting to peek through. It's the Teflon coating that's just starting to show a little bit of wear, but all in all, they're still in pretty good shape. But again, if I had them with me, I would probably go ahead and remove these and replace them. So now I'm just going to go and I'm going to just pry this open a little bit. You don't need to open it up a lot, just enough to slide it off out of the keyway. And then I'm going to lay everything down in order so I know which way to put them back. It's not too difficult. You got this guy here. Put this down here like so. And you've got this guy here, which doesn't look like it's directional, but I'm just going to keep it in the same orientation. And then now we have the actual seal, which I'm going to just slide off, and we will be sure to cover up the sharp edges prior to inserting the new one on. So I'm just going to go ahead now and slide this one off. Okay, and we'll set that aside because that's not going back on. And I'll slide off the clip, and we'll get rid of this. So now is a good time just to do an inspection and make sure that there's no nicks or no burrs in the fork tube. And I look like I am good. Give it a nice clean. Again, this suspension clean is great stuff. Okay, so I just spent a bit more time just cleaning everything out, getting as much of the oil out as possible. And now I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to use tape on the top of the fork here to protect the new seals from being damaged by this really sharp edge. Go ahead now and open up our seals. Oh, sticker. All balls racing. So now, let's take out the seals and the dust caps here. Now let's take a little bit of oil in here just to lube them up a little bit. Now we will carefully slide this over without damaging the new seal. So you can just slide it over the tape like so. Good. Take off the tape. Make sure you get it all off. Give this another wipe. Now we'll slide on this here. We'll put this on. We'll slide on our cap. So with the inner seal, there's obviously two sides. You want to have the open side facing up. If you notice on the seal, there's some writing. You'll have that facing down. So I'm going to go ahead now and put my tape back on. Again, this is just to protect the new seal from being damaged. Sliding it over. Text down. I did put a little bit of oil on it. Now we can just slide it down. Now we can remove the tape. Okay, so now we're going to slide this in carefully. I'm going to tuck up this inside here. Now we're going to put on our fork seal driver. Let's get this open. Lock it on. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to give this a couple smacks to get this to lock in. There we go. That's in there. Looks good. Make sure. Feels good. Now we'll take this off. And we'll slide the seal up now. And do the same thing with this. So lock the seal driver on. And that looks perfect. I can see the channel inside for the spring. So we'll take this off now. And we'll put the spring back in. Looks good. Double check. Looks good. And now we'll slide this back on. And that's it. Fork seals are replaced. Awesome. So I had a friend of mine 3D print these. These are for the forks on my KTM 350. I'm going to use this to put in the vise to hold the tube while I fill it up with oil and get the spring in. Okay, so now that I have the fork tube in position, I'm going to measure out my oil. So I have to, I'm going with the manufacturer recommendations of 624 milliliters. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to use this massive syringe that I have here. Not the best thing to use. I'm going to have to fill it twice to get the proper amount. We're going to go ahead now, get that measured out and get it inside the tube. So with this kit, they do provide a 10 weight Touratech suspension oil, so we're going to go ahead and use this. So I'm going to go ahead and get this up to 500 and get all those air bubbles out. Let that settle for a second. Okay, so here's the first 500 cc's.
Okay, now I'll add the remaining 124. Let's see if that's there. That looks pretty good. Just going to slowly pull this up just to give it some more room because it's filling up quite quickly. Okay, so off camera, I just dropped the fork leg down just to give me a bit more room. I'll make sure for the next one the fork tube is a bit lower so I have a little bit more volume in order to get the oil in. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm just going to get it back up. I'm going to get the air bubbles out and we'll take it to the next step from there. So we'll make sure we get all those bubbles out. And it looks good. Now we're going to slide our rod back in. Okay, I've got the fork fully compressed. I've got it sitting on my stool, and now I'm going to remove. I've got this set to the Tenere's specifications of 85 mil. I'm going to drop this in, and I'm going to pull out the fluid to get it down to the 85. Okay. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and install the spring guide. Again, a long way down. So we'll drop that in. And we'll grab our spring. Oh yeah, look at those beauties. So I'm just going to slide this up. And then I'll put the spring on. And we'll try and keep this from sliding down. This is going to be fun. I need to make a special tool, I think, to get this to work. I'm going to use this here just to get this up so we can get our cap on it. Just going to slowly walk it up. I've seen guys make an adapter or a special tool to get this to climb. Sorry, to get this to come up, but I don't have the resources right now because it's 12 o'clock at night. So I'm just going to jerry rig it and get this up. Okay, so I finally walked it up and I got the nut on. I stuck the 17 mil socket down inside and got the nut on. Again, this is not the easiest way to do it. It's probably easier just to make get some threaded rod and put a nut on the end. Make this process a little bit easier. Not gonna lie. Okay, let's pull that up a bit more. Okay, now we'll just hold that like so. Take our cap and thread it on. So now I'm just gonna pull the spring down enough to get access to the nut. Okay, we're just gonna pull the spring down. Get access to the nut. Okay, we're going to slide this down and try and get this wrench under there. There we go. Okay, now I'm just going to tighten this up. This would be a much easier job with two hands, for sure. And this one here needs to be tightened to 11 foot-pounds. So we're going to go ahead now and see if we can do that. So see if we can get this to 11 foot-pounds. They do make tools for this, which will make this a lot easier, but Listen, if I can do it without tools, so can you. There's 11 foot-pounds. Now we'll just take the spring out here like this. Let that seat in the perch. Okay, perfect. Okay, now we'll go ahead and tighten this up. There we go. So I'll go ahead and torque that once it's on the bike, but there she is. Oh my God, it feels good. Feels good. So I'm gonna go ahead now and do the other side. I'm not gonna bore you with the details because the process will be exactly the same. Once I'm done rebuilding the other fork, we'll get back to the assembly. All right, so we have both of the shocks rebuilt. There was no surprises in the second one. After doing that for the first time on this bike, I would recommend purchasing the tool to pull up the rod inside the fork. You can make one as well. I had to walk it up using a panel popper and a knife, and I slowly was able to walk it up enough to get it to the point where I could reach in and grab it carefully with needle nose pliers. Anyways, where there's a will, there's a way, but obviously having the right tools will assist with that. So we're gonna go ahead now and get these back onto the bike. I'm going to pay special attention to, again, to the top. I'm going to measure that gap up here, wherever are we? Right here. We're going to measure that now just to make sure that it's in the right position. Just a tad high. That's good right there. We'll just tighten this one up and we'll go back and do torques back on all of them afterwards. Now we'll go over to the other side. She is. Bingo. That's good. Okay, so if I was going to leave these things overnight, I probably wouldn't have let the calipers and everything hang here like this, but you could just hang them up with some bungees. So now we're just going to go ahead and get this lined up again. Again, the first thing that we're going to do is get the speed sensor on. Get that around there like so. Okay, I'm going to get these calipers on. Again, I'll go back and add Loctite after. I've got to get more, so I'm just going to get these seated. All right. So I'm going to end the video there. In closing, it's not a very difficult task to change the seals. Obviously, having the right tools helps. I'm not going to bother going ahead and putting on the rest of it because it's basically just duplication. So in the next video, we're going to be doing the rear shock. I've got the Touratech rear spring as well, which we'll be doing. So if you want to check out that video, it'll be up following this one. Take care, guys.